Hi, my name is Ariel and welcome back to my channel. So this is an overview of the astrology transits for the month of October. I do this every month, so if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe below so you can see when the video for November and December and so on pops up. Also, as you probably know, we are in Mercury retrograde during the first half of the month of October, which I already did a video on that specifically, which I will link down below as well. Anyways, no more boring intro. Let's get started with the video. Through October 9th, we are going to have Mercury and Libra retrograde square Pluto in Capricorn. It was exact on the 1st, but it's still a transit that we're going to be feeling until the 9th, though it will become less and less intense as time goes on. With this transit, you're probably having a lot of kind of scary revelations. Pluto is about exploring our depth and our darkness. So that's what's going on in your mind. You need to think about the darkest, most scary parts of your relationships. You need to think more deeply about what you don't want to confront. Also ask yourself, why don't you want to confront it? Why are you so scared? There's always a dark side of every relationship that people don't want to present to the world. That we just like to pretend is not there. But during this transit, you can't pretend. Those thoughts are going to eat away at you, and if you try to shove them down, you're only going to make matters worse. Mercury retrograde is about introspection and reflection. So that's what you have to be doing about your thoughts that make you uncomfortable. Now, warning, this transit can lead to intense interactions from other people, but you're not meant to be doing that right now. If you watched my Mercury retrograde video, you know that you're not meant to speak your thoughts out loud during this Mercury retrograde. You're meant to wait until Mercury retrograde is over to have those kinds of intense interactions. So try your best to avoid getting into a fight because it's not going to go how you want it to. Libra is a passive-aggressive sign. So if you feel like making a passive-aggressive comment, don't, because the other person might not be chill about it. They're also on edge like you during this time. So they might take your passive-aggressive comment as permission to come at you. So then you wind up in a huge argument that does nothing for anyone and that does not resolve issues. The things you were supposed to discuss with them outside of Mercury retrograde will come out now and not in the best way possible. You're gonna regret the things you say. Likewise, if someone makes a passive-aggressive comment towards you, let it go, at least right now. You can file it away in your mind so that when you bring up what you've been thinking about during Mercury retrograde, you can bring up that you didn't appreciate that passive-aggressive comment. You can use it as an example of what needs to change in the relationship. That way you can get your point across and fix what inspired the passive-aggressive comment without getting into a confrontation that ultimately goes nowhere. On October 2nd, we have Venus in Scorpio, Sextile Pluto in Capricorn. This is doubling down on the energy I just talked about, kind of. Venus is how we love, and Pluto is our darkness and our depths. So while Mercury transits are more about thinking about your relationships, this transit is more about feeling your relationships. It's about exploring every dark corner of your feelings. This is a sextile, which is a much more favorable aspect, so this is a lot easier to do than just thinking about your relationships. So what you can do is use Venus sextile Pluto to ground your thought process. It's a similar energy to Mercury square Pluto, but a lot less harsh. So if you allow yourself to wade into all those emotions, it's going to be easier to explore your emotions around relationships in a mental capacity because it doesn't feel separated. You're 100% in it. The emotions you're meant to be reflecting upon are right in front of you. So it makes it easier to reflect because you're not struggling to find your emotions. Also, a sextile is a pleasant feeling. So while mentally it might be stressful and a lot to take in, if you allow yourself to lean into the emotional part, that's going to be what calms you down and makes you feel okay. Venus sextile Pluto is a deeply beautiful feeling to explore if you allow yourself to go there. On October 6th, we have the new moon in Libra. This is a super intense new moon because it's conjunct Mars in the exact same degree. The sun, moon, and Mars are all 13 degrees in Libra. This is a super rare and insanely intense energy. They're all also conjunct Mercury retrograde in Libra, though to a lesser extent because there's a 7-degree orb in between them. So the energy I'm mostly going to talk about is the conjunction of Mars because that's the energy that's going to affect everyone the most. Libra is a sign that doesn't really like confrontation or anger. It does its best to avoid confrontation through communication and trying to find a middle ground. However, on this day, Libra is not going to be able to avoid confrontation and anger because Mars won't let that happen. Everyone is still going to try though. So what you might find is that everyone is being super passive aggressive on this day because that anger is there even though they don't want to unleash it. So it's going to be people all making snide and rude comments at each other while smiling while doing it. If you think you're being clever and that the other person didn't pick up on your true intentions, just know that you're mistaken because everyone's feeling the same energy on this day, so they know that you're doing it. Which tension is high, so if you are passive aggressive, just know that you might get called out for what you're doing. So I recommend not to take that route and to really get in touch with your anger. Libra is the sign of justice. When it comes to justice, anger can actually be very useful to us. It's often our anger that spurs us forward to seek justice. So you have to ask yourself, how can you direct your anger in a way that's beneficial? You can do this through justice in the world or in your relationships. There is clearly a great deal of injustice in the world right now. So you can get mad about it and use that anger to go out and change it, to go out and make the world a better place. So you can use that anger to go out and change it, to make the world more fair. For example, if you're an animal lover, you can contact your representatives about stricter laws regarding animal abuse. Or look up missing persons cases and share information about it on social media to raise awareness. Find whatever injustice is personal to you because the moon is personal, and take your anger about that injustice and go out into the world to do whatever you can do to change it. Also, because it's conjunct to the sun, that'll actually give you a boost to self-confidence when you do that. You wind up liking yourself more because you're not just a bystander, you're an active participant in making the world a better place. The second option is to get angry at the injustices going on in your own personal relationships. If someone you're close to is not treating you fairly, that should make you mad. If you claim that it doesn't, you're lying to yourself. That anger is there and will rear its ugly head later on. The new moon in Libra wants you to feel free to get angry at your loved ones. Everyone gets angry at people they care about sometimes. It's unavoidable. You shouldn't feel bad or guilty for being angry. Anger is actually a super important emotion for us to have because it lets us know that there's something wrong in the relationship. Now, that doesn't mean that this is the perfect day to go flying off the handle. New moon energies stay with us for a while after the new moon. So you want to wait till after Mercury is no longer retrograde in Libra to act upon the realizations you've had during this new moon. So what this is the perfect time to do is to allow yourself to get in touch with your anger by really allowing yourself to feel it and analyze it. Ask yourself questions about your anger. The more in touch with it you are, the better you will be able to resolve the issues that led to it in the first place, because now you're self-aware about it. So take those realizations and figure out how to fix them. Think about what you want to say to the people in your life who are making you angry. Now that you're in touch with your anger, you're better able to more clearly express to other people what you need to change in the relationship in order to make the relationship more fair to you. On the flip side, you also might realize that you're holding on to some internalized anger that you need to let go of because it isn't fair to the other person. You might realize that you're more angry about a certain situation or at someone than you actually have a right to be. Then you can talk to that person in a calm manner and be able to more clearly express to them why you're upset. You can work on finding a fair compromise with that person. On October 7th, Venus enters Sagittarius. This is a nice break from some of the more intense energy of the month. Sagittarius is a fun, carefree sign, and it's in the planet Venus, which is how we interact with the people we love. So this helps to ease up a lot of those tensions I've been talking about when it comes to the people that we love. It takes some, not all, but some of the pressure off of us. We still have Mercury retrograde in Libra, so we're still meant to be analyzing our relationships, which is stressful. But now that we no longer have Venus and Scorpio, our interactions with the people that we love are going to feel less intense. So even though this is still a time of deep reflection, we're less stressed about it. We're more able to go with the flow of the situations that are taking place in our relationships. It's also easier to analyze the more positive side of our relationships instead of immediately jumping to the negative. On October 8th, we have the Sun in Libra conjunct Mars in Libra. Then on October 9th, we have the Sun in Libra conjunct Mercury in Libra and Mercury in Libra conjunct Mars in Libra. Those are the days that these energies are exact, but honestly, you're going to be feeling all of them at the exact same time on these days. This is some of the most powerful days of the month because it is powerful to have the Sun, Mars, and Mercury all so close together in degrees. All in all, this is a great time to socialize with people. It's a great time to have conversations with other people. If you really lean into the Sun energy, and this combined with Venus in Sagittarius, means you get to have these fun, carefree conversations where you get to laugh and really enjoy what the other person or people are saying. It's about having conversations that aren't based on intensity, but are based around making you and the other person feel good. The conversations you have over these days can help to form a meaningful bond that brings you closer together. The Sun here is definitely the easiest energy to work with. It's the most positive and grounded energy of the three. The Sun is where if you put your power and your focus, you're gonna have the most positive outcome of this energy over these days. With the Sun conjunct Mercury, this energy feels like rejuvenation when it comes to thinking. This has been a super stressful Mercury retrograde, more stressful than they normally are. But with the Sun now conjunct Mercury retrograde, it's bringing a more positive, warm, friendly energy to it. You can have revelations on this day that feel good instead of feeling scary. These revelations make you feel warm inside. That gives you hope when it comes to your relationships. With the Sun conjunct Mars, you're gonna have a lot of energy on these days. So it's important for you not to waste it, for you to really utilize it. If you don't jump on this energy while it's there, then the fun aspects of this energy dissipates and it channels itself into something else, which might not be good or productive. So it's important that you're active and you get on your feet during these days. It's also a great time to go outside and really take in the sun. So maybe you go on a hike or go to the park or go to the beach with some of your friends. Put all that energy into socialization and being physically active. If you don't, then that's when you might experience the more negative side of this transit. Mars is anger and Libra is passive aggressive, like we already covered, right? So if you don't channel this energy in a positive way, then you wind up spending this time angry. Instead of it being a time of vitality and rejuvenation, the energy brings you down. It becomes a paralysis of analysis. With that Mercury conjunct Mars there, what happens is you wind up just sitting there and stewing and getting all up in your head with your anger. You're no longer using your body for that Mars energy, it's all in your mind and it has nowhere productive for it to go. So you wind up draining yourself of all your energy and missing the opportunities that were provided to you during this day, or these days. So don't do that. The best way to avoid this is to get your body active and go outside. So even if you don't feel like it, like I often don't, do something that gets you physically engaged. Because once you start doing it, you're going to immediately feel and reap the benefits of it, and you're going to be super glad that you did. On October 15th, we have the Sun in Libra, trine Jupiter in Aquarius. This is personally one of my favorite transits of the month. The Sun is vitality and warmth. Jupiter is luck and expansion. So we have both of these energies working together with a favorable aspect between them. You just feel like you're on top of the world on this day. Like you have the universe on your side, because you kind of do. This is a very enthusiastic transit, so take advantage of that. Go out and do something fun. Do something for no other reason than it brings you joy. Don't sit on the couch all day that day. Be active and engaged in your own life. It's also another great day for socialization. Everyone is just warm and friendly with each other on this day. So make a plan to go out and see your friends. On October 16th, we have Mercury in Libra, sextile Venus in Sagittarius. Both the sign of Sagittarius and the planet of Jupiter are like the two placements that are coming in to save the day this month. This is a really great transit to have right before Mercury goes direct. So we're entering Mercury retrograde on good vibes. Sagittarius wants your mind to take it easy. You've spent a good portion of this month ruminating about your relationships, which can be really tense and stressful. These are the final days to ruminate about those relationships. But now, instead of feeling it in a deep emotional way or going over every single detail, this sextile to Sagittarius wants you to take a step back. Sagittarius is all about looking at the big picture. So you need to do that in regards to your relationships. You've been deeply immersed in it this month. Now is the time to look at it from an outside perspective. Then once Mercury goes direct, you can take those complex intricacies and the big picture and combine them together. That way you'll have a much fuller understanding of your relationships. On October 17th, we have the Sun in Libra square Pluto in Capricorn. This is a more intense energy for us this month, as if we already hadn't had enough of that. The Sun is our ego and Pluto is deep transformation. With a square between the two, we have this tense energy there. This transit wants you to surrender control. Both Libra and Capricorns are cardinal signs, meaning that they both like to be in control, even though Libra pretends like they don't. So with two signs battling for control, it sounds weird, but the best thing to do is to surrender control. That way neither sign has anything to battle for. This transit is about learning when it's okay to give up control. Sometimes that actually works to your benefit, because when you're not trying to control the situation, you're leaving yourself open to all possibilities. When you don't have tunnel vision, you can see all the different paths that you can take. At the end of the day, cardinal signs know what they want and they'll do whatever it is that they have to do to get it. What they need to learn is, though, it doesn't matter what path you take as long as you wind up in the same destination. So learn how to adapt to get what you want, and learn that it's not going to be a hit to your ego if you have to change directions. On October 18th, Mercury finally goes direct, so yay. This is one of the most exciting days of the month. There's a lot of other planets that are also going direct in the month of October too. So we no longer have this energy that feels like it's pulling us back, but instead we have this energy that feels like it's propelling us forward. Everything you've been holding back this month, it's time to finally start letting it go. Mercury retrograde in Libra was about processing your feelings and relationships. It was about mentally understanding your feelings to the extent that you can do that, because there's no way for our brains to ever fully understand our feelings. Now that you've processed all those feelings, it's time to start finally speaking those feelings out loud. It's time to start communicating your feelings so you can come up with fair and balanced solutions in your relationships. Now, I don't mean that you have to do it on a specific date, but it is important to do it while Mercury is still in Libra, which that will be for the rest of the month of October, so you do have a fair amount of time to do this. So we have an intense full moon this month, which is fitting for the energy of the rest of the month. We just left Mercury retrograde, but now we have this full moon bringing up many of those same issues again. This is kind of like our final big push to explore these themes within ourselves before we have to take those discoveries out into the world. This full moon has a lot to do with power and control in relationships. We're still exploring these same Libra themes, but now from a selfish Aries perspective, which can help to give us clarity and really focus on our own point of view. This full moon has an opposition to Mars in Libra, a square to Pluto in Capricorn, and a sextile to Jupiter in Aquarius. So needless to say, there are some harsh aspects to this full moon that we have to navigate. The moon in Aries opposite Mars in Libra is once again asking us to get in touch with our anger. We're revisiting that same lesson of learning how to not be passive aggressive, to really stand up for ourselves and be unapologetic about it. This transit wants you to learn that it's okay to be in your anger even if it feels selfish. Now, there's an opposition here which is about balancing energy. So you need to find a balance between that Libra, passive aggressive, I don't want to cause a conflict so I'm not going to say anything energy, and that Aries, hot-tempered, fly off the handle, I don't care what commotion this causes, I'm mad so I'm going to unleash my anger energy. In between these two extremes is where you want to be. Then we have the full moon in Aries square Pluto and Capricorn. Once again, we're exploring these Plutonian themes this month, but now from Libra's opposite sign, Aries. So we're exploring power and control from a sign that loves power and control instead of a sign that tries to shy away from it. So this is about learning when you take too much power and control, which isn't always productive. Capricorn is harsh life lessons. So when you're trying to control someone else, it's gonna backfire. And you're gonna learn a harsh lesson from that. You can't allow other people to control you, but that doesn't mean that you are now allowed to control other people. The only person we have power over is ourselves. As soon as we accept that, we actually become more powerful. The last transit to the full moon in Aries is a sextile to Jupiter in Aquarius. Jupiter is the hero of the month. It keeps coming in to save us from those more difficult transits. If you can focus on this energy, it's gonna help you to better balance and navigate the more intense energy to this full moon. Full moons are deeply emotional, but Jupiter is asking us to take a step back from our emotions and look at our own emotions from an outside perspective. Feel all the selfishness of this Aries full moon, but also look at yourself from the outside of that. Embrace your emotions, but look at them objectively at the same time. That's going to be what gives you clarity. This full moon wants you to embrace your selfishness, but also recognize that you can't live there. Fully feel your selfish emotions, but recognize that you sometimes do need to take a step back in order to not become a selfish person. Overall, this full moon wants to teach you how to find balance between yours and other people's emotional wants and needs. On October 26th, we have Venus in Sagittarius square Neptune in Pisces. So once again, we're being tested in our relationships, but no longer with a focus of energy on the sign of Libra. Venus square Neptune tends to bring up a lot of insecurities within us. We tend to have a lot of self-doubt when it comes to our relationships. There can be this feeling of I'm not good enough, or questioning whether people love you or even like you or not. What's important to remember with this transit is that all this insecurity is actually stemming from you, not from the other person. So don't get too wrapped up in these feelings because that will drive you crazy. Just know that this energy is not coming from a place of reality or honesty. It's coming from the self-doubts that we all have. So don't worry yourself to death. Know that this transit will pass and you'll feel better and more secure in your relationships once this transit is done. On October 28th, we have Venus in Sagittarius, sextile Jupiter in Aquarius. This is our final awesome Jupiter transit this month. This transit is trying to teach you how to get out of your head and look at the bigger picture when it comes to your relationships. Sagittarius and Aquarius are big picture signs, and Jupiter is a big picture planet. So we have a lot of energy pushing us in that direction. So this is about not getting bogged down in the details of your relationships, not being in the extreme emotions of them. It's about analyzing your relationships from an emotional outside perspective. Ask yourself, if you were someone else and you were watching yourself interact in your relationships, what honest advice would you give to yourself? If you can do this, then you can take that advice and act upon it, which will only help to expand and grow your relationships. On October 30th, Mars enters Scorpio. So we are ending the month on a Plutonic note that we will carry with us into the next month. With both the Sun and Mars in Scorpio, once again, we're exploring deep and dark themes in the month of November. In general, the last few months of 2021 are going to be a bumpy ride, so you better prepare yourself. Mars is action, aggression, and anger. So we're moving from it being in a passive-aggressive planet that doesn't like to connect to these parts of ourselves to a sign that loves to do a deep dive into those parts of our personality. Mars in Scorpio loves to get in touch with these emotions because Scorpio loves to explore the darker traits of our personalities. That's what Scorpio finds interesting. So now you get to explore your anger in its purest and deepest form. You get to go as far down into your anger as you could possibly go. That's going to teach you a lot about yourself and who you really are at your core, which that can be kind of scary. But at the end of the day, the scariest lessons are often the most important lessons for us to learn. So don't be afraid to explore your darkness when it comes to your anger. The more intricate understanding you have of your anger and aggression, the more powerful you will turn out to be. So that's it for the month of October. Once again, if you really like this video, please do me a big favor and like and subscribe below. It really does help me out. I've also been working on a sun sign series, which you should go and check out, with the next sign coming up being the Sun in Scorpio. Lastly, be sure to follow me on social media. I have all those linked below as well. And if you're really big into transits, which I assume you are as you are here to the end of this video, I post about transits a lot on my Instagram, so make sure to follow me there. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful month of October.